I think it was the Hodge twins. I'm not sure. I think it was the Hodge twins. They asked, well, one of them asked, do you think that human sexuality is a learned behavior? And I said, no, I don't think so. And he said, I think it is, because if it wasn't, there'd be no grooming. Like, you couldn't groom someone if it wasn't a learned behavior. It's a very, very interesting point. And I suppose the general idea is we're seeing a lot of this grooming. We're seeing a lot of people groom their kids and other kids and things like that. And we do know that you can influence someone's perspectives and lives and things like that. But I think, as always, there's a combination of nature versus nurture. And I guess the way I put it was, in response to this question, is it learned? I said it's not. And the reason is, if you take two human beings, and this is just in my opinion, maybe it's wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's not wrong. If you take two humans and you raise them in a vacuum, a male and a female, and they have no idea of the world around them, they can't read, there's no food comes in, they eat it. Once they're old enough, they will start doing things with each other, if you know what I mean. It is likely, in some circumstances, a human is homosexual. It is likely to the degree, I think it's like 0.8%, 0.08% or something like that. But that's why I'm saying you can traumatize someone and crack their brain and make them react negatively to a tomato. You know what I mean? Like, you can make people, you can develop phobias in people. These are traumas. These are things that are not normal. Like, a person should not be scared of a tomato. But sometimes people have these strange phobias because something happened in their life. We have this story from the post-millennial. Woman coaches young boy to identify as girl, claim that boys are nasty. A video has emerged on social media of what appears to be a woman encouraging a young boy to identify as a girl. Here's what I think. What we're seeing here is social trauma from cult-like behavior. I do believe, to a great degree, humans are blank slates when they're born. Not everything, though. Men are going to have more bone density, more testosterone, more fast-twitch muscles. They're going to have less body fat. They're going to have a higher center of gravity. And for the overwhelming majority, they will be sexually attracted to females, no matter what someone tries doing. However, if you break someone's arm, they're not going to be able to use it. If you give someone poison, it will damage their bodies. So I put it this way. If you take a healthy young human being, let's say human male, twins, and you deprive one of protein from a very young age and onward, and you give one all of the healthy protein that they want, well, surprise, surprise, the identical twins turn out different. By the time they're 18, one's gaunt and scrawny, and the other is buff and ripped and tall. Well, of course. Now, what if you gave one of the kids nothing but ice cream, cookies, and candies, and then you gave one of the kids broccoli, mashed potatoes, green beans, and steak? Once again, one of those kids is going to be probably obese, unhealthy, with limited muscle development, shorter, and one's going to be taller and ripped. And that's the way I describe it. When you take a small child like this and you give them healthy food, they'll grow. If you give them unhealthy food, it will cause damage to them. This is what grooming is. It is giving a child nasty things that are bad for it because you want them to turn out a certain way, instead of nurturing them to naturally grow and develop the way they would should they be given proper nutrients, informational nutrients. You get my point? That is to say, grooming can change people, but I do believe that for the most part, these things are innate. The human body will develop and grow if given the proper nutrients, but you can choose to deprive it of what it needs to twist it into a broken form, unfortunately. In this short clip, a boy is dressed in a pink sparkly cheerleader outfit, and the woman filming, whose identity has not been confirmed, asks if he feels like a boy or a girl. The boy replies that he feels like a girl, and when pressed, says he thinks that boys are nasty and gross because they're not pretty. Now, the mother is socializing this young boy to be a girl, despite the fact that he's too young to understand the difference, and that's a reality. You have another story. I don't know if I have it pulled up. I might. Do I have it pulled up? There we go. Mother admits she regrets letting her son, 4, transition to a girl identity and describes realizing her mistake was like leaving a cult. Children will grow if given proper guidance. If you take a young boy and tell him nothing of gender, tell him nothing of boys and girls, and just give him the right food and the right education and show him what's going on, he will likely, in almost all circumstances, grow up to be a healthy young man who will reach peak physical condition possible for his genetics and live a normal life. If you interrupt that process and start giving him different ideas incongruous with where he would develop and grow, then you're going to cause traumas and confusion. It's simple. Place a child into the world and alone, and they'll start learning things around them. Place a child who doesn't speak a language into an environment where they only speak one language, and eventually that child will learn that language, and rather quickly, in fact. But put a kid in an environment where you only speak gibberish with no discernible understanding of words, and guess what? The kid will struggle to speak. A human child can learn to read and write and to speak, but you intentionally cause traumas and confusion, and then they will end up, I guess, stunted or confused. This is a story I talked about a little bit earlier, so I'll get into now, and it's amazing. You should definitely watch the conversation from the Triggernometry podcast. It's Triggernometry. Shout out to the crew over at Triggernometry. They have accents, and so they say ERs like A's, so all they're saying is trigonometry, and that's literally how you say it. So it's like, they're like, the podcast is trigonometry, and it's like, oh, so it's like a math podcast? No, trigonometry. It's like, you got to say trigonometry. You got trigonometry. But it's interesting. She says that she allowed her child to say that he was trans or that he was a girl. And then she said, okay, you are. And then what happened was they realized their next kid, the younger kid, one day said he was a girl too. And they said, wait, what? How are you both trans? They actually thought, like, this can't be right. Then they realized what was happening. They were influencing the child. And that child, what they were doing, the younger kid sees it and says, this is normal and this is what I want. I want to be like him too. The question is, what do you want for your child? Well, these blank slaters don't want anything. Let me put it in a different way. I had a friend once. I haven't talked to her in decades. It's crazy. I was like a teenager. And she was talking about how she got fired and she couldn't figure out what she wanted to do with her life. So I asked her, what were you doing when you were 13 years old? And she said, I don't know, riding bikes and hanging out with my friends. And I said, you'd love to own your own bar. And she goes, oh, that would be awesome. And I'm like, right. You want to do what you did when you were a kid. You want to know what I was doing when I was a kid? I'll tell you. I was on the internet, I was designing websites. I was reading about news. Don't ask me why, I don't know. My family owned a business from when I was like 9 to 11 years old, and I got to sit around hearing people talk politics. And I grew up in this space, constantly hearing about the stuff. I got involved. My friends played punk rock music, and then I started learning about these lyrics and these ideas. And so I very much got involved in politics. And I'm doing basically the same thing that I was doing when I was younger. In some form, it all came together. So if you take a child and you put them in an environment and they develop around that, their formative years, that's what they will strive for. That's why the groomers are targeting children in schools. That's why they're doing Drag Queen Story Hour. They want these kids to grow up, to engage in these behaviors. But I view these as traumas, something damaging to the kid. I believe that having children ride bikes around and do nothing is also a problem. You know, people talk about passion. You've got Mike Rowe. He says, don't follow your passion, follow your talent, or something to that effect. Like, you might be passionate about music, but you might suck. But you might be a really good carpenter, so do carpentry. And I'm like, your passion and your talent should be the same thing. And if they're not, it's because, unfortunately for you, you did not have an optimal childhood. Me, I chased my passions, but my passions were also in line with my talents because I grew up doing things and I enjoyed doing them, being around them, wanted to do more, and I continue to do more. And here I am, lucky, I suppose. I know I have a friend who became a pro skater. And she said that when she was a kid, she said she wanted a skateboard. So her dad got her a skateboard and said, now you have to skateboard. Then when she got bored and stopped skating, he said, why aren't you skating? He said, I don't know, I'm bored of it. He goes, nope, you're coming with me. And he brought her to the skate park. And he said, we're going to go to the skate park every week because you wanted the skateboard and now you do. Now you skate. And then she told me when she was older, she's so grateful that her parents did that because she loves skateboarding. She loves the community, had fun doing it, was good at it, made money doing it, and all those things. And it's like, yeah, that's what parental guidance is. So you have so many parents who are like, I'm going to let the kid decide and they'll figure it out. Kids can't figure it out. They need you. And so here's what we see from it. I'm glad this mother figured it out. This other mother, not so much. It is, in fact, kind of sad that people are going to they're going to grow up disillusioned and confused as to what they want or what will make them happy, and they don't understand. This is why you have so many socialists who are like, we should abolish private property. Yeah, because when they were younger, everything's given to them. They didn't have to work for it. Back in the day, you were 10 years old. You were out, picking up sticks, gathering, or helping dad or doing something. You were working to survive. Today, kids don't do it. They ride around doing nothing. No surprise, they're all becoming commies. How about that? These kids are going to be confused because their parents aren't giving them a structure in which they can grow up and understand. And I feel bad for them. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up in a few minutes. Stick around and I'll see you all shortly.